everybody, Josh RV Dirt of Bish's RV, getting some very updated footage on the Winnebago 2301 Bunkhouse here. This is a model I recorded, I think, back in 2020 when it first came out. And what a dumpster fire that year turned out to be. Hopefully this video in this RV you feel comes out a little bit better. Now there's actually a couple updates that are going to be applied to this that are not yet in place on the specific RV that I'm recording today. For instance, instead of the pleated kind of pull down blind shade things with the little strings that sometimes become a problem, like we're going to actually see in this video, they're getting away from them because they're sick of them being a problem, like you're gonna see in this video right here. This is a very common floor plan now from a lot of brands. I think the Imagine 2400 BH really the one that first kind of cracked the code, but there's a lot of builders that make something like this, and they all have some cool different features. So what's Winnebago bringing to the table? They got the junk in the trunk cargo door system, I guess as I'm calling it today for some reason. Big power awning, enclosed heated belly with radiant barrier and holding tank heaters, Goodyear tires, solar package, true queen bed, carpetless, slightly taller ceiling inside, double Asdale walls, and a partridge in a pear tree, if we were going to boil this down very quickly, very simply. But there's a bunch of other neat little cool details they do that I want to go through and peel through and kind of showcase for you. But the RV also has a couple downsides. For instance, this one, you're going to lose the bedroom when you close the slide, and I know that's a problem for some folks. But whether it's good or bad, I want to showcase it for you here so you can decide if this is the right one for you or not, and if you appreciate how we give you the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs. Hit that subscribe button and like our video. Let's get rolling, baby. And what's kind of nice is the consistency that you get through the Winnebago family of trailers, from Big Voyage through the new Access stick and tins. There's so many really family consistent features, like the way that they've gone carpetless in these slides, and I really like, this is the nerd preferred thing here, when the slide floor and the main floor, technical term is matchy match. It's just kind of my preferred way of doing things. Now, sometimes people get spooked about a refrigerator over here in a slide, and I only seem to get that feedback in travel trailers. I don't fully understand it. Refrigerators and slides, much bigger refrigerators with gigantic pantries and slides, are very commonplace in fifth wheels. But here in travel trailers, sometimes people get spooked by it. The fridge itself is not that heavy. And when it's loaded, it's probably not any heavier than like a pantry that you might load up with all kinds of stuff. But folks seem to be okay with a pantry and a slide, but not a fridge. Again, if there's an aspect of this I haven't grasped, please leave me a comment. I'm not criticizing. I'm just kind of curious and just sort of, you know, truth vomiting, oversharing right now. Anyway, you might have noticed in the kitchen, no propane gas oven, nor is there really an option for one from the factory. They have gone, they were a couple years kind of ahead of the very current trend of going with a like convection microwave air fryer, whatever name you want to apply to it there, instead of a gas oven. Now technically, because you do have that stovetop there is a gas hookup around there. So it is not necessarily impossible to have an oven added to this, but it's going to be DIY aftermarket, and the cost is probably going to be fairly salty on that sucker. Also, this is one of those things, I don't know that I can properly demonstrate this on camera, but this is one of those areas where you get to see Winnebago being down with the thickness. Their sink covers are, I mean, they're heavy duty, dude. They're like UFC champion hammer fist capable over here. Those things are solid, man. That faucet also has a drop down sprayer, which is kind of handy. And this model, if you are going to be stuck inside on a rainy day, can be kind of nice because the television is straight across from the seating. Although, as we're seeing it today, regular viewer Mr. Steve Z, his head is like melting right now because he's going to say, I can't believe in this nice trailer there's nowhere to sit on a rainy day except at an uncomfortable dinette. And to be fair, he does have a valid point. I'm not criticizing Steve in his comments. He has a valid point that a first-time RVer might not think it. If anybody ever says, oh, you don't need a sofa because a dinette's comfy, get away from them. That's snake oil BS nonsense. If your focus is more on the entertainment aspects of this floor plan, you might want to look at like a sofa option instead of the dinette, which I am pretty sure is available. Now, this is something that they fixed from previous years. A couple seasons ago, the TVs were way too close to those wireless charge pads. So you couldn't even put a phone in there. It was a worthless wireless charge pad because it's not like it was going to wirelessly, I don't know, charge the TV. I'm not sure what the point was. Obviously, they fixed that. They spaced things out better. Speaking of spacing, the ceilings in here are a little bit taller. Minis used to have a 6.5-foot ceiling, and they now have a 6'8" ceiling. Due to some changes they made with their air conditioning, basically. They got taller inside without getting taller outside, which I think is kind of cool. You may also notice very pet-friendly, kid-friendly, debris-friendly with no vents in the floor. What you are not necessarily seeing, or maybe not necessarily recognizing, you see what looks like just, innocuous little toe kicks for the kitchen. That's actually where some of your heat vents out of, or where your hot air, your cold air return is to the furnace. So they've actually almost completely hidden the furnace while still providing centralized heating for the RV without needing floor vents to do it. It's kind of a crafty, creative little situation that they put into here. Now, right inside the slide box, they're very good about putting some household and USB plugs, which is very handy around a dinette. And you see those little pull-down pleated shades? Those things will be going away, and I have the perfect example as to why they're going away and being replaced by blackout roller shades soon. I wish those dinette knee-knocking pedestal posts would go away, but that is not happening yet. Hopefully that happens in the future for something a little more long leg friendly. Now, this is something I think is kind of cool. It's open air, but also private, the way there's almost those cutout boxes for the ladder built into the wall to get you that 300-pound rated bunk, I think is great. And when I first walked in here, the upper bunk was dark. I was like, oh man, I start looking for lights, on the walls, on the ceiling, where you expect to find lights, and I couldn't find one. And then I moved this curtain over here a little bit and discovered the light was actually over there, which I like, because it's indirect lighting compared to the rest of the living room. It cascades a lot of light into the bunks, but, the parents, the big people in the RV, can still reach in there and grab that thing. So overall, I think that was some really good, really smart execution. And you can kind of see a little bit of that cargo door. Move, bunk, get out the way. And we get to see the rest of it. But also the fact that this has individual curtains for each bunk, and a legitimate walk-in pantry-tainment center right by the door, which you may have seen me demonstrate when we first began our little video adventure here. Our advent video, I was going to see if I could combine those two words, but I failed miserably, live on camera. So that's lovely. That's my day. How are you? How are you doing? Anyway, the storage in the kitchen is great. I really like how those doors over the entertainment center flip up and hold themselves, which is nice. And they're using kind of like one of their Winnebago motorized hinges to do that, instead of something like that requires a strut or anything of that nature. Now, basically, all of your main cabin lights are going to have just a switch to be able to turn those off and on, although the switch that I just flicked is apparently the switch for inside the walk-in pantry-tainment center. So that had a very lackluster, almost you could say zero effect. That is what I was trying to accomplish right there. But along with that, each light can still individually click on and off, and each air vent is both vented and louvered, which is fancy dance talk for the fact that they can turn, open, and close, kind of like the vents on your dashboard of your vehicle, to put the air where you're most comfortable. Now, you may have noticed how that did have a sliding pocket privacy door, and this is a true queen bed with a nice little pooch palace down there, because you see that little black grate? That's one of your heat vents right there. So once again, the heat might be near the floor, but not in the floor. And I think that's a key distinction. My little dog would probably love it down there. If we leave our closet open, he will. We have a nice walk-in closet at my house. I'm fortunate that way. And my dog will go in and lay under where the clothes are hanging down near the floor to be virtually hidden, where it's nice and quiet. And, that's a natural cave environment, basically, for a dog. I think that's great. Now, this model here does not have a second entry door to get to the bedroom. Some people prefer it that way. And I'm curious, do you prefer a second door or not? They have a nice breeze window. They don't do a second door. I think the Jayco version of this does the second door, but some other versions don't. Different brands, different strokes, different folks. Oh, before I forget, these are 50 amp service standard. So if you want to sacrifice that vent and have a second air installed, it is basically prepped to do that. That's something that you can accomplish. Looking down below the bed, it kind of looks sort of hollow and empty and unfinished when the bed's open. It doesn't look that way when the bed's closed, thankfully. But you also may notice how there's like room if you want to put some like little wicker totes or baskets or something like that in there. You know, you could turn that into a very like almost like a dresser. But you may have noticed how those pockets were open to the side of the bed, so you don't necessarily have to rip apart the entire bed just to get to the storage every time. Now, this is what I was saying. This is the reason right here they're getting rid of these kind of pleated drawstring type shades and going to a blackout roller shade. Because if I try to open this, the stupid thing from the factory needs restrung because these weren't quite tight enough. Also, I noticed a defect that you're not going to have to worry about anymore. It looks like the worker either missed with their screw gun or initially was going to put the screw in the wrong place, and it damaged the wall panel. And instead of getting a new wall panel, because you can't, because it's a laminated RV, it just sucks now, and there's a ding in it. Well, this is going to be a roller shade. No more of these stupid string anchors. No more of that stuff. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So I'm very happy about that. And lights out. It's bedtime. You know, you can just kind of close that sucker right down right there. Again, if you're worried about the TV, a sofa of some kind seems to make a little bit more sense. In a real hard pinch, like weather person gets it way, way wrong, I would take that table out and use this as kind of like an open lounge. It's not going to be super comfy, but maybe you throw like a body pillow, you know, behind you or something. It may help a little bit. Get you through a little bit of a movie day or something like that. Although when I go camping with my family, if it rains and we're stuck, we just get in the car and we go somewhere. We go shopping, watch a movie. I don't know. We just get out of the weather, but we go do a thing in whatever the local area is. Check out the local shops. Porcelain foot flush stool. At a glance, I thought it was super fluffy friendly, but it does have a little bit of a funny bone banger on that right hand side. And this is one of the rare areas I actually found them using a heat vent in the floor. So you're going to want to be careful when you're playing Game of Thrones. You got to watch out for Peter Sprinklage. It sneaks up on you a little at a time. Is really I think the best I can say. Now a lot of their newer models have just a medicine cabinet right there, and then the mirror is on the wall. They didn't do that here. I'm kind of really starting to like it because it gives me the look and the feel of a window in the bathroom without actually having a window in the bathroom, sacrificing any sort of privacy. And that 6'8" height, it's really weird when I go through these. Some of their models, I have enough headroom to stay in the shower. This one, I barely did wearing my shoes. I had to take my hat off. Some of their models, I can't fully stand in the shower. So I don't know what the difference is between what's going on under the shower pan and why they had to lift one higher than the other or what the deal is, but that's a thing that I've noticed as I've gone through several Winnebagos lately. And something else that I'm well aware of when it comes to a floor plan like this, when we close the slide, we're going to lose a bedroom. And this one's kind of a tease because you can see the bedroom, but you can't get there. I do suppose it is worth mentioning that this is a rack and pinion slide out. So if you wanted to crack that slide just a little bit to sneak up there to pack the RV and then close it on your way back out, you could, but you don't want to leave the slide like that. Now, the refrigerator, the sink, that stuff readily accessible. So this is very solid for stopping and, like, you know, making the family a little traveling snack. Now, from the door, when you come in, just so you know, I wanted you to get to see me close the slide so you could see that I wasn't cheating and cheesing it whatsoever since I did partially crack it. You can still get back here to the bathroom space. What I'm actually wondering, sometimes with these cargo bunks and floor plans like this, you can do some really cool things. So this is what I was talking about right here. With the slide closed, you can go into endoscopy mode like I'm doing, and you see that you have a very long potential cargo space. And I have seen people in similar floor plans to this stick a kayak up the back side of this thing like Dr. Jellyfinger. And I haven't tried it on this one because there's not a kayak around, but I'd be kind of curious. Anybody who owns this floor plan or wouldn't like it, what kind of fun stuff have you done with this thing? And the question I expect to probably receive in the comment section if I don't try to answer it, can I half-ton this thing? Can my half-ton pull it? Well, first of all, I don't know, because I don't know the specific details of your half ton. But if you need more insight on that, call our team. We can narrow all that down for you. But generally speaking, I think maybe. If you got a late model tow package, kind of half ton, this thing has an 8,800 pound GVW full max weight. It's like, I think 30 feet or less. I don't have the specs directly in front of me right now. So there's some potential there. Now, if you're going to go through mountains and wind zones, no, you're not going to like that with a half ton. But if you're going to stay around flatland, short distance, southern Michigan, and northern Indiana travel, where I'm from, yeah, tow package, half ton, yank this thing around all day. It just depends on what you're doing. Now, this is one of the new 24 updates right here. They're getting a weatherproof box for like all those 12-volt wiring points. Instead of having all those relays open to the weather right there, Keystone calls it a Gigi box. Heartland calls it the Vault. And I don't know what Winnebago's going to call it, but they're going to call it something, rest assured, because that's, you have to call it something. Otherwise, people won't think it's exciting. That's the way of the world. That's marketing, baby. But anyway, it's happening. So that's a nice little wiring update, and that'll be true basically across their entire lineup. They're very consistent on things. Magnet holdbacks and slam latches for these doors. Also a key-like system, so you don't need to walk around with a whole bunch of different keys. Big baggage doors on both sides, that full pass-through. And this is an interesting thing. Sometimes people say, hey, I thought you said it was aluminum structure. Now, you can see this bed does have aluminum structure. And actually, you can see how you got that plywood chunk right there. Well, there's a little wiring behind it. That's where you could mount an inverter. That's your inverter prep location. But a lot of aluminum framed RVs do not have wood framing in that pass-through. And people go, I thought it was aluminum framed. Well, an aluminum frame structure and aluminum framed furniture that are not structural are two different things, so you don't always find the one goes with the other. And even RVs like this that are using Asdel on the inside and outside layers of your sidewalls, that are using a lot of aluminum structure, again, even under the bed, your floor decking, things like that, not your decking, your floor joists. These still have a wood-constructed roof, typically. So even, quote, aluminum RV builds and composite RV builds usually still have a chunk of wood in them somewhere. It's a full composite build is not a common thing. And there's really a nasty trend in the RV industry today from various manufacturing camps where they will incorporate some level of Asdel, like maybe only directly under the fiberglass, nowhere else in the RV, and they're touting their composite build. Well, not really, so kind of keep all that in mind. Just some extra details there. Now, the tires, she's got some good sneakers on the kid. Those are Goodyear Endurance radials. The underbelly is enclosed and forced air heated with a radiant barrier to kind of help with some efficiency, and holding tank heaters, all standard on these. That's a very consistent Winnebago doing Winnebago things at this point. Little fridge outside, I do believe, does have an inverted outlet to it, but I can't see the plug to verify. So that might be operable in transit, which is cool if you add an inverter to it. And some of these brands have gone with this Greystone kind of griddle wombo combo where you can throw the top on if you want it and take it off if you don't. I do like those extra power outlets in there. And of course, you have yourself a gas grill cooker hooker right down below in case you feel like grabbing yourself a grill of some variety. But keep in mind, that is a low output LP system, low pressure. So if it's a nasty windy day, things like that griddle or whatever might have a hard time keeping flame and staying warm. So, there are limitations to some things. It's not like a heavy, high power gas stove like you have in your house. Although they do put a good sized power awning on that. It's funny because when you look at the front of the RV, you feel like you got shorted on the awning. Well, then when you actually look at your camp area, you realize you got some real good awning coverage on this thing. Now, the camp kitchen doesn't have a sink, but it does have this little cold water high pressure sprayer with a little garden hose kind of head thing over here where you can use to hose down the family before they go into the RV and track the outside dirt inside. Of course, we do have a fully walkable roof up here with the ladder 250 pound rated helping us out. The cargo door does have a deadbolt, by the way, in case you don't want to, let a gas station murder hobo reach in and grab one of your children's. Well, you can make sure you can keep them safe. And down below here, new for 24, Norco, their chassis supplier, has bulked up the way that their hitching works. So if you see a Norco chassis for 2024 with a hitch on the back like this, it is going to have a 350 pound vertical accessory weight rating, up from 300 pounds last year. And I'm not mad at a 300 pound rated hitch, but 350, certainly sounds better. And that's another thing. Some people are spooked by the concept of Lippert frames under RVs. Most RVs have them. Most RVs get along just fine. But I get it. You know, if you're not confident with that, I'm not going to argue with you. I believe that you should purchase according to your confidence level. Know that this is one of the options out there that does ride on a different foundation. So thanks again for tuning in. Now, real quick, part of the reason I'm doing this is to kind of showcase the fact that I'm a little bit taller than these 6-foot entry doors. Somebody mentioned that the other day, like, Josh, we never realized off your videos with you being tall, like, I almost knocked myself unconscious and fell out the camper the other day, the first time coming out. Well, I never thought about it because I've been doing this for the better part of 15 years, and I'm used to the size of these things, and as a taller person, I'm used to ducking, and I go in and out of the RVs, and I duck my head reflexively. I consciously don't even think about it anymore, kind of like breathing. By the way, you're thinking about manually breathing right now, and now you are manually controlling your breathing. That's a fun little game you can play with someone. You can control and make them breathe manually instead of breathing automatically, not thinking about it. Crazy, crazy little party trick you can throw on somebody. Anyway, check the link in the video description if you like to see where we have one of these parked and what we're asking. And if you like what you see and you want to put a ring on it, we happen to be sold out. Call our team and we can get you some figures on something. But also, you'll find links down there for like the J Feather and the Heritage Glen and the Imagine versions of this. There's tons of different builders that make a layout like this. Let me know which one you kind of like best and why. And if you want to shrink it down a little bit, get a little bit less expensive, and still maintain bedroom access and transit, take a look at the 257 Freedom Express. Although, with that one, you're going to give up the direct-facing entertainment center. Depends on which thing's more important to you. So again, in, out, up, down, we got all kinds of different options here for you. And until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.